Ezekiel's vision of the wheel within a wheel. Among the most mysterious and debated passages in the Bible is the first chapter of the book of Ezekiel, where the prophet describes an extraordinary vision that has puzzled theologians, mystics, and now ancient alien theorists for centuries. According to Ezekiel 1:4-28, the prophet, exiled in Babylon, witnessed an immense spectacle in the sky, a whirlwind emerging from the north, accompanied by a massive cloud, fire flashing forth continually, and a brilliant light all around. At the center of this vision appeared 4 living creatures, each with 4 faces, that of a man, a lion, an ox, and an eagle, and 4 wings, their bodies glowing like burnished bronze. Beside each creature was a wheel, and the prophet describes these wheels as appearing like a wheel within a wheel, able to move in any direction without turning. The wheels sparkled like topaz or beryl, and were covered in eyes all around, moving in perfect synchrony with the creatures. Above this scene was a shining expanse, and above it, a radiant throne upon which sat a figure with the appearance of a man, glowing like metal in fire, radiating light. Traditional interpretations hold this as a profound symbolic vision of divine glory, a theophany meant to communicate God's omnipresence, holiness, and power to a people in exile. The wheels symbolize God's ability to act in all directions. The creatures represent divine messengers or angelic beings, and the radiant figure on the throne is God himself. But for ancient aliens theorists, this vision isn't symbolic, it is literal. They argue that Ezekiel, lacking the technical vocabulary of modern times, was doing his best to describe a close encounter with a flying spacecraft, possibly piloted by intelligent extraterrestrial beings. The wheel within a wheel could represent gyroscopic propulsion or multi-directional landing gear, the shining expanse of viewing dome or energy field, and the living creatures, not mystical cherubim, but biomechanical suits or alien life forms. The sound of rushing water and flashes of fire parallel what we now associate with jet engines or energy-based propulsion. While mainstream religion regards this as divine mystery, the ancient aliens' perspective sees it as compelling evidence that humanity may have witnessed and recorded advanced aerial technology millennia ago, misinterpreted as supernatural phenomena because of cultural and linguistic limitations. The Nephilim and the Sons of God, Genesis 6:1-4. One of the most enigmatic and provocative passages in the Old Testament appears in Genesis 6:1-4, just before the story of Noah and the Great Flood. It reads, "The sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves from all whom they chose. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also, afterward when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them. They were the heroes of old, men of renown." Traditional Judeo-Christian interpretations vary, with some theologians identifying the sons of God as fallen angels who defied divine command and took human women, producing a race of giants known as the Nephilim. Others suggest that sons of God simply refers to the righteous descendants of Seth mingling with the descendants of Cain, thus diluting spiritual purity. Yet, for proponents of the ancient aliens theory, this short but potent passage suggests a far more radical idea, that the sons of God were not heavenly beings in a metaphysical sense, but extraterrestrial visitors whose advanced knowledge and capabilities made them appear divine to early humans, i.e., the Nephilim, then, are seen not as metaphorical giants but as hybrid offspring, the result of genetic experimentation or interbreeding between these alien beings and early Homo sapiens. In this view, the heroes of old were not merely mythical figures, but real beings of superior strength, intellect, and possibly longer lifespans, echoes of demigods and giants that appear across many ancient mythologies worldwide, from the Greek Titans to the Sumerian Apkallu. Some theorists even propose that the reason for the flood in Noah's story was to cleanse the earth of these hybrid beings, whose existence had corrupted the original blueprint of human life. This interpretation casts Genesis not as a purely spiritual text, but as an ancient record of interstellar interference in human evolution, preserved in mythic form. The fact that multiple ancient cultures, Hebrew, Babylonian, Indian, Native American, all have stories of sky gods mingling with humans, lends further weight to the idea that Genesis may be describing real contact events, obscured by symbolic language and the limits of ancient human understanding. The Tower of Babel, Genesis 11:1-9. Another key moment in early biblical history that ancient aliens theorists scrutinize is the story of the Tower of Babel, found in Genesis 11:1-9. The narrative tells of a unified humanity, speaking a single language, who settled in the land of Shinar and began constructing a massive tower intended to reach the heavens. Their ambition was halted when God descended, confused their language, and scattered them across the earth. Traditionally, this is seen as an allegory for human pride and divine judgment, a lesson on the dangers of trying to rival God's authority. But viewed through the ancient alien lens, this story may depict something far more literal and technologically grounded, an early attempt by humanity to build a structure capable of space contact or even space travel. The phrase "reach the heavens" may not be merely metaphorical, but a reference to the sky or outer space itself. According to this view, the builders of Babel were guided or inspired by knowledge, possibly inherited from their ancestors, who had encountered or were even genetically modified by extraterrestrial beings like the Nephilim. The sudden intervention by a god who descends to stop the project is interpreted as a higher intelligence, or alien overseer, preventing humans from becoming technologically advanced too soon. The confusion of languages can be seen as a form of information sabotage, possibly the deliberate scrambling of communication systems or cultural memory to set back humanity's progress. Some ancient alien theorists even suggest that the tower might not have been a literal building, but a symbol of a lost technological infrastructure, a transmitter, a stargate, or a launch pad that linked Earth to the stars. The abrupt abandonment of the project and scattering of humanity may mirror myths found in other cultures, such as the fall of Atlantis or the destruction of advanced ancient civilizations. Ultimately, the Tower of Babel from this perspective becomes a cautionary tale, not about disobedience to God, but about humankind's interrupted destiny to reconnect with cosmic origins, a destiny derailed by those who once walked among us and perhaps still watch from the skies. The Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant is one of the most mysterious and powerful artifacts described in the Bible, and its very existence has long captivated scholars, theologians, archaeologists, and, increasingly, ancient alien theorists. According to the Book of Exodus, the Ark was constructed under divine instruction as a sacred container to house the 2 stone tablets of the 10 Commandments. Made of acacia wood and overlaid with pure gold, it was designed with precise dimensions and topped with 2 golden cherubim, facing each other with wings outstretched over the mercy seat. But more than just a religious symbol, the Ark was described as possessing terrifying, almost supernatural power. It led the Israelites through the wilderness, leveled the walls of Jericho, and even killed those who touched it improperly. It was associated with fire, clouds, light, and unexplainable destruction. From a traditional theological standpoint, the Ark represents the physical manifestation of God's presence, His throne among His people. However, the ancient aliens' interpretation redefines the Ark not as a holy relic, but as an advanced technological device, possibly left behind or gifted by extraterrestrial beings. The intense descriptions of divine light, radiance, electrical-like discharge, and strict handling protocols are viewed as consistent with a highly charged, perhaps nuclear or energy-based machine. The fact that priests had to wear special garments, follow complex rituals, and avoid direct contact or risk death echoes modern safety protocols around high-voltage or radioactive materials. Some even speculate that the Ark may have been a communication device, capable of long-range interstellar contact, or a power generator fueling other ancient technologies. In this theory, Moses was not just a prophet, but a custodian of advanced, alien technology, perhaps instructed by beings whose guidance was interpreted as divine. The disappearance of the Ark from historical record, possibly hidden in Ethiopia, beneath the Temple Mount, or lost in a remote desert, adds to its mystique and raises the possibility that it was retrieved by its original makers or hidden from mankind until we are ready to understand its true nature. In the ancient aliens framework, The Ark of the Covenant is not merely an object of faith, but a lost artifact of interstellar heritage, hinting that the gods of our ancestors may have been visitors from the stars. The Transfiguration of Jesus, Matthew 17:1-8. The Transfiguration of Jesus, recorded in the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke, is one of the most profoundly mystical events in the New Testament, and one that has raised intriguing questions when viewed through the lens of ancient alien theory. According to Matthew 17, Jesus took 3 of his closest disciples, Peter, James, and John, up a high mountain. There, in a moment of divine radiance, Jesus' face shone like the sun, and his clothes became dazzling white. Suddenly, Moses and Elijah appeared beside him, and the disciples witnessed them conversing. Then a bright cloud enveloped them, and from it came a booming voice declaring, "This is my Son, whom I love, with him I am well pleased. Listen to him." Traditional Christian doctrine interprets this as a spiritual revelation of Christ's divine nature, a moment when heaven touched earth, and the disciples were permitted a glimpse of the glorified Son of God. Moses and Elijah symbolize the law and the prophets, affirming Jesus as the fulfillment of both. However, ancient alien theorists offer a bold alternative reading. They suggest that the Transfiguration may not have been a purely supernatural vision, but a technologically mediated event, orchestrated by an advanced intelligence. The sudden change in Jesus' appearance, his face shining like the sun and his clothing becoming intensely white, could suggest a transformation or energy-based interaction, such as exposure to high-frequency light, plasma, or even some form of protective or interdimensional suit. The appearance of Moses and Elijah, 2 long-deceased figures, raises further questions. Were they actually present, revived by advanced means? Could this be an instance of time manipulation, dimensional crossover, or holographic projection? A phenomenon theorists believe possible with superior technology. The cloud that envelops them, accompanied by a disembodied voice, could be interpreted not just as divine presence, but as a hovering craft emitting sound from above, very much like modern reports of close encounters with UFOs. The booming voice may have been broadcast from a craft, explaining its terrifying effect on the disciples who fell face down in fear. For ancient alien proponents, the Transfiguration is not a mere religious metaphor. It is a carefully recorded contact event, made awe-inspiring by its blend of celestial phenomena, altered reality, and the possible intersection between spiritual, vision, and extraterrestrial technology. Whether miracle or manipulation, the event continues to challenge the boundary between faith and the unknown, raising the question, was Jesus interacting not just with heaven, but with beings far beyond our current understanding? Elijah's fiery ascent into heaven, 2 Kings 2:11. One of the most extraordinary and visually intense events described in the Bible is the departure of the prophet Elijah, recorded in 2 Kings 2:11. The passage reads, "As they were walking along and talking together, suddenly a chariot of fire and horses of fire appeared and separated the 2 of them, and Elijah went up to heaven in a whirlwind." This scene, long revered as a miraculous ascent, has fascinated theologians and believers for centuries. In traditional interpretations, Elijah's departure is a divine act, a unique honor bestowed upon a faithful servant of God who did not taste death, but was instead taken bodily into the heavenly realm, an early sign of divine reward and eternal life. However, when analyzed through the ancient alien's perspective, this passage takes on a drastically different implication. Rather than viewing the chariot of fire as a purely symbolic or supernatural vehicle, ancient alien theorists argue that this description aligns remarkably well with the terminology of a primitive witness encountering a spacecraft. The chariot could be a hovering or flying craft, its brilliance and fire symbolic of propulsion or energy discharge, and the horses of fire, an ancient attempt to rationalize the accompanying power and sound, perhaps resembling flames or thrusters. The whirlwind into which Elijah ascends is also of immense interest. It could refer to the vortex or spiral of air and dust stirred by a powerful engine or anti-gravity technology. Such imagery matches modern eyewitness reports of UFOs creating circular shockwaves or windstorms upon landing or takeoff. Elijah's physical body is never found, because in this theory, he was quite literally taken aboard a craft and removed from Earth. Intriguingly, Elijah is not the only figure in ancient literature to be taken to the sky in such a dramatic fashion. Cultures across Mesopotamia, India, and Mesoamerica contain similar accounts of sky chariots, like the Vedic Vimanas, or gods arriving in fiery vehicles. Could these be descriptions of the same phenomenon witnessed by different civilizations? Some theorists even suggest that Elijah was not just taken away, but possibly entrusted with knowledge or a mission in another realm, perhaps even transformed into one of the messengers or watchers described in apocryphal literature. The fact that Elijah reappears in the New Testament during Jesus' transfiguration hints that his departure and return might not be metaphorical, but temporal or interdimensional, a movement facilitated by beings of immense intelligence and power. Thus, Elijah's fiery chariot becomes not just a miracle, but a historical account of ancient contact, preserved through the lens of faith, but echoing the language of space and technology far ahead of its time. The Book of Enoch and the Watchers Among. The many ancient texts excluded from the modern biblical canon, the Book of Enoch stands as one of the most controversial and revealing works, particularly in the context of ancient aliens theory. Written in the centuries before Christ and preserved largely through the Ethiopian Church and the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Book of Enoch provides a staggering expansion of the brief Genesis account of the Nephilim and the sons of God. In this apocalyptic text, Enoch, great-grandfather of Noah, is taken on a celestial journey by angelic beings known as the Watchers, who reveal to him the secrets of heaven, the movements of the stars, the cycles of time, and the origins of sin and corruption on earth. These Watchers are described as luminous, powerful beings who descended to earth and, against divine command, took human wives, producing a race of giants that devoured all they could find, even turning to cannibalism and bloodshed. The Book of Enoch goes further than Genesis, naming the fallen Watchers, such as Azazel and Samyaza, describing their specific teachings, warfare, cosmetics, magic, astronomy, and their eventual punishment. To mainstream theology, this text is a mythic expansion meant to explain the presence of evil and suffering. But to ancient alien theorists, the Book of Enoch reads like a detailed report of extraterrestrial visitation, interference in human genetics, and unauthorized dissemination of advanced knowledge. The Watchers, in this view, were alien beings or interdimensional visitors, perhaps scientists or genetic engineers, who manipulated early humans and were later judged by a higher extraterrestrial council. Enoch's journey through various heavens, seeing burning mountains, glass palaces, and realms of time, closely resembles modern reports of alien abduction, cosmic travel, or simulations of otherworldly environments. In fact, some suggest that Enoch may have been taken aboard a spacecraft, shown planetary systems, or given revelations of time and space that far exceed the scientific understanding of his era. Even more provocative is the fact that Enoch is taken alive into the heavens, similar to Elijah, and told that he will not return to Earth until the end times. Some interpret this as a possible stasis state, suspended animation, or even relocation to another planet or dimension. The knowledge he was given was so vast that it threatened the cosmic order, a theme mirrored in various myths around the globe where mortals are gifted forbidden knowledge and then exiled or silenced. Today, the Book of Enoch is being re-examined not just as a theological oddity, but as a surviving fragment of human memory, one that hints at the dark and astonishing possibility that our earliest ancestors were not alone, and that beings from the stars played a central role in shaping our species, our beliefs, and our destiny. Ezekiel's vision, the flying wheel, Ezekiel 1:4-28. Few biblical accounts match the surreal, awe-inspiring detail of the vision recorded by the prophet Ezekiel, a passage that has become a cornerstone for ancient aliens theorists, seeking evidence of extraterrestrial contact in sacred texts. In Ezekiel 1:4-28, the prophet describes an astonishing scene. I looked, and I saw a windstorm coming out of the north, an immense cloud with flashing lightning and surrounded by brilliant light. The center of the fire looked like glowing metal. He then details the appearance of 4 living creatures, each with 4 faces, of a man, lion, ox, and eagle, and wheels, intersecting within other wheels. These wheels moved in every direction without turning and were said to be full of eyes all around. Overhead, there was a radiant throne of sapphire and a being who resembled a man, engulfed in fire and brilliance. Traditional interpretations view this as a mystical vision, a prophetic glimpse into the heavenly realm and the divine chariot known in Jewish mysticism as the Merkabah. But to ancient alien theorists, this description is far too mechanical and consistent with modern aerospace language to be dismissed as metaphor. The wheel within a wheel is often cited as a potential reference to gyroscopic or anti-gravity propulsion systems capable of moving in multiple directions without rotating. Technology that humanity is only now beginning to theorize. The glowing metal, flashing lights, and thunderous sound may represent plasma energy or advanced thrust systems, while the eyes could easily be interpreted as lights, sensors, or windows. Moreover, Ezekiel speaks not only of machinery, but of beings who operate it, hybrid forms with both divine and mechanical traits, suggesting a fusion of technology and biology. Could these be engineered beings, perhaps robotic or cybernetic life forms, under the control of an intelligent species far more advanced than our own? The throne suspended above the creatures could be the command deck of a spacecraft, and the radiant figure upon it, often interpreted as a theophany or a pre-incarnate Christ, could in this reading be a representative of an extraterrestrial race, misunderstood by ancient minds as divine. Interestingly, in the 1970s, NASA engineer Joseph F. Blumrich published a book titled The Spaceships of Ezekiel, in which he analyzed the vision using aerospace engineering principles and concluded that Ezekiel was likely describing a multi-stage spacecraft. Rather than discount the prophet's words as poetic hallucination, this interpretation embraces them as a technologically illiterate human's raw attempt to describe an encounter with advanced non-human intelligence. In this light, Ezekiel becomes not just a mystic, but one of the earliest recorded contactees, his vivid narrative a priceless ancient window into encounters that continue to shape human mythology, religion, and perhaps even our very DNA, the Star of Bethlehem and the birth of Jesus, Matthew 2:1-12. The Star of Bethlehem is one of the most iconic symbols in Christianity, guiding the Magi from the east to the birthplace of Jesus. According to Matthew 2:1-12, this celestial object not only appeared suddenly, but led the wise men across great distances, finally coming to rest over the place where the child was. In traditional theology, the star is a miraculous sign from God, heralding the arrival of the Messiah and fulfilling ancient prophecies. Some scholars suggest it may have been a natural phenomenon, perhaps a comet, supernova, or planetary alignment. However, ancient alien theorists see something even more startling. A controlled aerial phenomenon, not a passive object in the heavens, but a guided craft intentionally directing human activity. The idea that a star could move in the sky, alter its direction, and hover over a specific building defies the behavior of natural celestial bodies. Stars, comets, or planets do not stop or rest over geographical coordinates. They move with predictable trajectories across the sky. The Star of Bethlehem, then, may be better understood as a vehicle equipped with advanced navigation, perhaps a reconnaissance drone or small UFO, operating on a mission far beyond the comprehension of ancient observers. The Magi, likely astrologers or scholars from Persia or Babylon, would have been well versed in tracking celestial patterns, yet this star was so unlike anything they had ever seen that it compelled them to embark on a messianic quest. Some interpretations go even further, suggesting that the birth of Jesus itself may have been part of a genetic or prophetic plan, possibly engineered or overseen by extraterrestrial beings seeking to alter the course of human history. In this view, Jesus becomes not only the Son of God, but a cosmic envoy, perhaps even a hybrid being imbued with the moral and metaphysical knowledge of an advanced species. The angelic visitations that precede his birth, the annunciations to Mary and Joseph, the appearance to the shepherds, could also be interpreted as communications from advanced entities, ensuring the protection and success of a crucial moment in Earth's evolutionary narrative. Thus, the Star of Bethlehem is recast not as a symbol of divine light alone, but as a deliberate beacon, a luminous guide marking the intersection of heaven and earth, not through miracles but through intentional contact from a civilization far beyond our own. It raises the ultimate question: was the coming of Jesus the result of divine will as we understand it, or part of a greater cosmic intervention that still remains hidden behind the veil of ancient scripture? Ancient texts, timeless questions. When we peel back the layers of metaphor, symbolism, and theological interpretation that enshroud the Bible, what emerges is a text rich not only in spiritual insight, but also in descriptions of phenomena that eerily resemble the hallmarks of advanced technology and contact with non-human intelligence. From the Nephilim and the Watchers to fiery chariots, guided stars, and wheels within wheels, the ancient authors of the Bible may have recorded more than they understood, events so extraordinary that they could only describe them using the language of religion and myth. The ancient aliens theory does not seek to disprove faith, but rather to expand our understanding of its possible origins, suggesting that the divine encounters of the past might be reinterpreted as interstellar dialogues, and that our ancestors may have stood face to face with beings not of this world. If true, this reframes not just the Bible, but human history itself, revealing a hidden legacy of cosmic intervention, forgotten technology, and celestial messengers, whose return may yet come. In asking the oldest questions, who are we? Where do we come from? Who has been guiding us? The Bible may not only be a spiritual guidebook, but a coded archive of first contact, waiting for modern eyes to decipher. Its most explosive truths